Well, all right, man. So brief background. Let me see. I am home performance contractor mixing HVAC and installation and
Where are
have
you?
in Austin, Texas.
What's your phone number?
512-203-0765. And
Do you have a
emails
website?
austinstarservices.com.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
keep going.
No, thanks for stepping in on that. And did a lot of home performance where clients were unhappy with the results because they were thinking just because they're getting home performance that they were getting this super superior comfort house. Um, Also dealt
Right,
a
and
lot.
you were using, Austin has a home performance program. It's
Yes.
very similar to, there are a lot of different places around the country that have home performance programs, and
Yeah.
Austin has one.
Yeah. It's like the home performance with Energy Star.
Right.
So, um, kind of just not really understanding the why of building science, just kind of doing the actions. I was having trouble with selling and how to get the building science part with the homeowners. And I didn't really know how to get what they were really looking for out of, hey, John, how much for ductwork? You know, I started learning from HVAC 2.0 was why do you want ductwork? What happened? And sometimes a lot of that comes from they wanted to fix a different problem. But I also learned from HVAC 2.0.
Self-diagnosing. They were self-diagnosing, and that's like Sandler's like, do not let them do that.
Yeah. And a lot of it, what they were doing is they would tell you the first problem, but it really wasn't the problem. So it made everything really hard. What you thought HVAC 2.0 meant to you when I joined, I actually looked at it as a new way of being on a better playing ground, how to level out. Um, I wouldn't say importance, but putting a level playing field between me and the homeowner. It allowed me not to just go in there feeling like I was just selling to whatever, and I didn't really know what the homeowner was
Thank
wanting.
you, Massa. I'm so grateful for the opportunity,
Yeah,
Massa. Thank you, thank you, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Like, thank you. It's that you selected us.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, not understanding why did they select me. And sometimes I found out they selected me for price, so I was already stuck and locked in that game.
Mm.
You know, um, what is meant to me? It meant a lot to kind of understand the why from the homeowner. Was really is why were they doing this? What were they wanting? What are their pains? It meant a way of actually looking at the homeowner through what they wanted instead of, hey, John, you're the professional, figure it out
Tell me
because
what to do, or figure it out, and
and then
then
own.
try to justify what you figured out to me, who knows nothing,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that I can tell you there's no way I'm paying all that for this thing that you're telling me I need to do, that I don't believe you that I even need to do it.
That, or you do something and they don't want to finish paying you because they felt like you didn't do what they really wanted because you didn't even know what they wanted. It was like,
Oh,
expert, you should have known Sally's bedroom was uncomfortable and 3 degrees. I thought doing ductwork and installation was going to fix Sally's room. I didn't even know Sally had a problem.
you didn't tell
So,
me about Sally's room. All you did is ask me to change your ductwork.
yep. So it
You
meant
went
a
to
lot.
the dentist and asked for the tooth to be removed, and then afterwards you're pissed that the tooth was healthy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What
Mm-hmm.
did it mean at the time you got started with HVAC 2.0? What was the condition of your business and your personal finances?
I think I was pushing somewhere around 250 to maybe 300,000 in sales. Probably getting paid around when everything was done about 50,000. And really just spending countless hours on tire kickers or people that really wasn't going to do business with me anyway. So I'm here throwing brochures and this is why I'm great. And look at this stuff from NCI. Look at this stuff from BPI. Look at all this stuff. Here's a free blower door test. Here's a free static. Here's a free load. I was just giving away constant amount of time and testing, which meant nothing to them. Somehow it felt to them that it was a sales gimmick to figure out
Right, that's the risk
stuff.
of going full home performance bonehead. is you get all excited about your toys and the homeowner is like, I don't understand why you're excited about that toy. This feels gimmicky to me. And
Yeah. So what it means now to me
well,
is,
so what was the state of your bank account?
I think I was about 60K, just going in and out, living check to check kind of stuff, just as a normal single business. I had a couple install crews and technicians coming in and out, weren't great, but they did stuff. They helped me out,
So you might have had 60K with 30K in payables. So you were always just
it
no
was always,
cushion.
no, it was just like, hey, we'll wait till the next one comes. Um, that was the big thing. After I started doing it, we noticed that we doubled our sales. So now we're at 500 to about 690K, and that's just with us. So it's me with doing the sales. A tech comes in and out, still the same install crew. But it just got better. I was actually spending the time on actual people. Um, and we're easily coming in with 100K in the bank account. Now I got cushion. Now I got things like that. So I'm able to put that aside and invest in other things that I couldn't do before, and buy tools and, trucks and just nice things for our company so we can look good when we're going out instead of running in the same old beat up truck.
Okay. Okay. So things have kind of shifted from hand to mouth to very comfortable.
Yeah. And then now it's set me in a way to see, like, okay, this is what I have to do, and this is what I can. Now I'm starting to see things how they're coming in and look at margins different, and keeping a track of my sales. How did I mess up? What can I improve? Because constantly it's always working on the improvement of how you practice Sandler with the homeowner, and how you ask the questions, because it's not just asking the questions, it's also the tonality, of how to bring that question across. Like, why us? That was
So let me ask you this, because you brought up Sandler. I know Sandler was brought to you by HVAC20. But if you were to distinguish the two, would you say that 20% of what you got, you kind of credit to HVAC20, and 80% of what you got since joining is from the Sandler?
no,
Or what's the percentage? What's the
I'll
mix?
I'll say 50-50, because joining HVAC 2.0 had me look at a house different and how to kind of really talk to a client, of the things that I used to take responsible for. One of the things, responsibly avoid responsibility. I didn't do that before, So I would say HVAC 2.0 with getting more deeper into building science, bouncing ideas off. How do y'all approach certain processes? How to kind of to map this thing out, because I really didn't have a map. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm here. Let's
Shoot
just
from the hip, baby.
test, and I didn't know, which one's better than others, or what we should do, or what should I do first. What three tell me the most about a house, or which way I need to go, if it's controllable or uncontrollable.
So
Now,
having the process defined
yes,
is probably 50%, because
yeah,
that's HVAC20 is basically taking concepts and turning it into implementable process. Like a
yes,
lot of the sales training that people get is concepts, strategy, and tactics, but I'm still waiting to see somebody else who actually brings a deployable process.
it's sometimes, and I think that's why I'm going back to 50-50, because there's a map, but every road doesn't lead the same path. When
Right.
we sometimes they throw you a curveball, like just something you weren't prepared for, and that's where the Sandler comes in. And the only way you can do that is practice, 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 practice. And
Awesome.
that that's the biggest thing. And so,
Okay.
you know, it comes in up and downs of stuff. I'm like, man, I should have done that different, or why did I say that, or I talked too much. I didn't ask enough questions.
Oh
So
God.
always things that just constant improvement, or
You're
using.
bringing out my pain with all those things you're saying.
Yeah, and just learning, like, man, just not afraid to get the no, or just how to get them to tell us no, and it's a lot of that helps with asking the right questions and asking permission to get them to tell you no, so they know no one's scared of nothing, and they gave you permission, so they're not going to get their feelings hurt if it's something we don't want to do for them, so it works out. I think that drove up what it means now. What it means now to me is I want to become better at following through with the processes of not just kind of, I even felt sometimes of straying from the path, and it just depends on what mode I'm in. And at this mode now, what I'm doing forward, I'm really trying to home in the processes of what I learned last year in new construction and this coming year in new construction. Talking with builders and trying to get your way in to talk to the homeowner.
Let's go back to your business has transitioned to a lot of new construction work now.
Yes.
And
I
these
guess
are high-end contractors who are, well, so Austin has experienced some amazingly hot summers, and
Yeah.
nobody's house is keeping up because it's been 20 degrees above design temperatures. So, and I'm going to bring this in a little bit to bring people up to date a little bit on where I think you might be, although I could be wrong. I think the builders are realizing that they want to raise their game on their HVAC contractor because they've been taking it in on the chin for punch list items having to do with comfort due to the crazy things your climate is doing. And so these guys are looking for not the cheapest chuck with a truck.
I mean, it's kind of, it's half truth, half not. So I believe as a whole, our building industry's leaped HVAC 20 years by making the house so tight, and
Okay.
that. But HVAC is 20 years behind, and we're trying to catch up. And then there's all the other people that are trying to catch up, and they're still trying to catch up to code. So when we come into this challenge, one I notice is, hey, how to responsibly avoid responsibility in new construction if they pick the $10 to $15 a square foot budget. That's the industry right now, $10 to $15 square foot, and that's where people are getting. But now they're like, oh, I wanted fresh air, and this Honeywell damper that opens up is only letting in 20 CFMs of fresh air, and my house is sick because now I bought this indoor air quality monitor that says my air sucks.
Right.
And I'm gonna blame the HVAC guy. And the HVAC guy is like, man, I didn't even buy the exhaust fans and ventilation. I just did the cheapest single stage unit I could so I can get this bid.
Allowed by law, so it could be approved. You didn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, and it gets them owned for so much stuff. So now I'm able to ask questions and say, well, hey, do you have any concerns about controlling humidity? Oh yeah, John, the AC is going to do that. What happens when it doesn't run? And then we start having a conversation. So a lot of it I see from HVAC 2.0 when talking with y'all, and also going over all the information that knowing y'all got me and provided me so I can send to the homeowners has been helpful, and the builders. So it lets me off the hook. Yeah, if we're doing the $10 to $15 a square foot fiberboard flex spider system where it's the cheapest of the cheap, hey, cool. Don't call me if you have this problem because I did offer it to you, but you declined it. The other thing too, it makes the builder now think, does he want to be on the hook for something he's deciding for the homeowner? And that's another big thing.
So are you actually starting to encourage them to take on a little Sandler? Are you listening to your Sandler a lot still?
Yeah, I went back to the book asking, what am I at? I'm asking good questions, what I've had, or asking questions the Sandler way. Let's see what it is.
Okay.
Asking questions the Sandler way. That's the one I'm reading right now.
Okay.
And it just helps me, a little
Is this
stuff.
your third or your fourth or your fifth time reading that? What is it?
I'd probably say 2 full times, and then I jump into a chapter. Yeah, especially like I went to a phone call. I was getting a phone call for an Austin Energy, the rebate program stuff. So I had to listen to that multiple times to get me in the right state of talking to them and mixing in the three things that I've always want to ask them when I'm doing their scorecard, hot and uncomfortable rooms. And it's hard because everything is not going to be scalable around the three questions all the time. Sometimes you still want to get them, but you have to twist it. For example, this guy just moved in this house.
Right.
It's 2 years old. So how do I get the three questions to make sense to him if he don't know the information? And
Have you
so
ever
what
lived in a house that was uncomfortable?
exactly,
You're going to
so
have to take it to a different house and say, do you have any sense that this house might have those problems?
yeah. Or, if you could do everything different, what would you have done different at your last house? On a scale of 1 to 10, is controlling all the bedrooms with equal temperature, all the bedrooms important to you? Are you, in scale of 1 to 10, is it important to you to have humidity control when the AC is not running? On a scale of 1 to 10, does the indoor air quality matter to you? 1, not important. 10, it is important. And then I have them kind of talk on a dialogue of that, and I try to refer back to their old house, and that's where it kind of, you got to play with it a little bit, but try to stay on path, because I'll get off path real easy, and then it gets hard, and I'm in the weeds, and I'm like, where am I at? I got to get back on. And then that's just the thing. I think it's the process. It ain't going to be where you have to memorize a script. I mean, it's good to follow something, but what I see it more is it helps me put the bumper guards up so I don't get way too off, and I can get back in to try and
Stay
stay on.
on the narrow path.
Yeah, that's a big thing I could say. Let me see. Just lost those things. So hopefully that helped with what that meant. Think about what is going to go forward. So going forward, business is it's hard out there with the service industry where
You're
people
having
are
trouble keeping people? I'm hearing that a lot.
on service.
And getting
It's
people that are well trained
yeah, and it's
and
all.
getting them to stay.
And I tried to use different methods because it's something I don't want to say I can't do. I'm always trying to fight through it, bull in a China shop thing, or what can I do to get these younger people in it? So I do try and listen to books and hear things, and taking responsibility, all that kind of stuff when dealing with employees on ownership, I guess we could call it. But what I learned is like, hey, my niche has really been dealing with the home performance side of things and the new construction portion. So I've been staying in there and then doing HVAC design and consulting. So what I think it means forward going to me is going to help me more. I'm not really doing a whole lot of free quotes. I'm doing more of the consultation process and that portion of HVAC 2.0. How do y'all feel about that? I know things are changing where a lot of the industry is not really loving the whole 3 hour blower door thing, and the free quotes easier because that's what the industry is pushing for. And
Well, so also, I mean, in your climate, I can imagine people are going to, their level of risk that they're willing to assume is probably going to be higher than in most climates. But I don't know if you saw what I wrote, which is basically we're with the free quote process. I think we've hit upon a way to move the blower door after equipment install.
I saw a little bit. I saw a little bit. It's hard for me to kind of give I mean, I'm mixed emotion because now, traveling through building science, I know there's ways I could do things that show me something, an insight of how the house is breathing with a high powered manometer. But it just feels like I'm going out of step on the process. It just feels like it's something I really don't know or 100.
We're really trying to work this out right now.
Yeah.
And so we're changing the order of things as the guys start using it. They're like, okay, we've used it. This one needs to move here. And
Yeah.
this needs to change. And so we're right now in the process of doing that. But I think I sent this to you. When you do a load calc, there are a lot of things that you're guessing. Infiltration tends to be a measurable item that if you're guessing, your guess can have a dramatic impact on equipment sizing. It could be a lot of variance. So if you do 2 load calcs on a house and you change, all you do is change infiltration, and you put the highest infiltration number you've ever seen and the lowest infiltration number you've ever seen, your load range could easily be a couple of tons between the two. Would you say that's fair, John?
Yeah, I would say that's fair, especially when our climate's really blowing up with heat pumps over here.
Right.
You know, I've had people that didn't do the blower door wondering why, especially with Mitsubishi that doesn't have the backup supplemental heat, or the homeowner didn't put that in there because they had a gas furnace before and they don't have the power to run heat strips. So I've been seeing that on a few of our jobs where we have design days of 28-degree days. And I think right now we're at 19 degrees and they're holding like 68, 65. And I'm like, hey, we talked about this, so on making those decisions, I see it more impacting me on the heat over here big time.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's heat season and we're having record lows across the country.
On cooling, I'm not seeing it hit too much. I just see the other thing spike on the latent heat. We're getting much more humidity problems.
The humidity issue. And that's because of the crappy equipment. They really, with these energy efficiency requirements, they've abandoned even paying attention to the latent.
Yes.
So let me finish this. If you pick one number, your risk of being inaccurate is almost 100%. As far as picking a load calc, if you pick one number within the range of the high and low I just talked about, if you were to just pick one number, the level of the likelihood of being accurate is like 0.
It's a guess. It's totally a guess.
It's a guess.
So, might get it right. Just don't know why and when I did.
Yeah. So if you show the range of uncertainty, your accuracy is very high. If you go to somebody's house and you say, you're a 2.5 ton, versus saying to them, you're between a 2 and a 3.5 ton, which one's more accurate if you don't know infiltration? The range, right?
Yep.
So we've attempted to recommend diagnostics at the point those diagnostics justify, not before.
Got you.
Not after, not when unnecessary. Home performance bonehead is our litmus to not recommending too much diagnostics. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So in order to avoid home performance bonehead, because we all like to go there, we call each other out. We call other people in the industry out too, and they get butt hurt, but they don't understand we're doing them a favor. So this is a sign to slow things down and think things through. Until now, it's been our position that replacing equipment to properly size that equipment requires a load calculation, which of course includes measured infiltration. That position has changed. We've done a lot of blower door tests on surprisingly tight homes. Were these tests necessary? For most, we think that answer is probably no. So given that we can arrive at the same place without blower door, continuing to do them would be a waste of contractor and homeowner time and resources. Until now, people haven't done 2 calculations and showed this variance to the client. So a load calculation without measured infiltration is essentially fraud, as it implies much greater accuracy than it provides. By providing a range, you solve this implication of accuracy problem, because you're basically saying we can't be accurate if we're going to be guessing at your infiltration. And by the way, there's no such thing as perfect accuracy in this anyway, but if you want improved accuracy, we need to do a blower door test. And then leaving it up to them what level of accuracy they want, and let them pick within the range. Because any place with, if you had to do a load calc or a manual J for any place within a load range, you could easily make that manual J say the number you want.
All day.
All day. So it's accurate, because that's the way most people do their manual J, is they decide on the size of the equipment and then they make the manual J match it.
I've seen that a lot in the industry. It's bad.
It's the wrong way to go about it, I think. But so one load calc without measured infiltration doesn't help people better understand their risk or make better decisions. One of the things we want to do is help homeowners better understand risk associated with their decisions. That way they can assume the risk. But if you don't let them know what risk they're assuming, you are kind of responsible for the risk they've assumed. You can't put it on them without letting them know. By providing range and explaining to homeowners comfort, humidity, static, durability, equipment longevity issues, all associated with oversizing equipment, we have been getting very strong positive responses. Turns out most people really like being educated before making big decisions, and straightforward talk about the decisions and risks in front of them. So HVAC20 Free Quote Process is very much in alignment with many of our long-held values. Now we have a way to move the accurate load calc with measured infiltration step beyond the equipment replacement step, while still meeting the core tenet of do no harm. And that core tenet is not to put the homeowner in the place of having to do something twice without knowing that they're taking that risk. And this is, if they size their equipment to the size that a good house, the equipment that a good house their size needs, then if the house doesn't keep up, they can improve the house.
Yep. That's
But
what a lot of times.
now 80% of the time that equipment's amazing, because it works much better on the shoulder loads, which is where most people live anyway.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I'm still working on this. What do you think?
It's hard. You know what I mean? It is. It's kind of.
Is it a good narrative?
It's a good narrative. It's a good narrative. And what I see is it hits on the infiltration, not then the other parts of the puzzle pieces, like the static and the calculation. Those three puzzle pieces have to be understood so we can know what's going on,
Right.
So that was a big thing. But yeah, I get it. Hey man, we can get past the blower door, the whole thing. People want to do it. Give you two loads, the worst one, the best one, and say, hey, you're going to be in this range. Now, sometimes I've played with ranges like that. And for a system down in Austin, Texas, that has a lot of gas systems, no heat pumps, well, if they went with something where they did high and low and you found out you're in a range and they could keep their gas furnace there, you got it, because it went real high on there. We don't know. But if you're worried about Sally's room being comfortable and not blasting that heat on, there's a different way.
Right.
You can see your lows on your heat pump of being only 18,000 BTUs on a 30-degree day, but just the difference of what it'll be on an extreme day like I'm having now. But most of the time, you needed much less BTUs, and you could throw that responsibly back to the homeowner where they're driving the ship. I get it.
So what I'm hoping this free quote process will do is I'm hoping that it'll be an easier way to hire new employees, because it'll take a lot less training before you can make them to the point where they're productive.
Makes sense.
And
so
then you can start to see where their skill sets are. And if they're like more interested in the mechanical side, you can move them over to service, but at least they'll prove that they have some experience with the customer and the ability to make sales.
Makes sense.
And then if they want to continue down that sales path, it takes a whole lot of pressure off of you.
Yes.
So that's where I think it may be taking you. I think that what we've seen with some of these other guys is their conversion from free quote to comfort consult has gone, well, like for Reedy, it's gone from 30% of his quotes where he would convert to comfort consult. Now it's between 5 and 10.
Wow.
Because he's not finding that people really have the pain score or the combination of pain score and the willingness to pay for a comfort consult.
I've seen the pain, just not the willingness. Like, it's so funny. Like, I had a guy today was like, "Hey man, the heat strips work." I was like, "Yeah, man, we've been telling you that at your maintenance, it sucks. Well, can you come out now?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I know I need a new system." I was like, "Dude, we've been kind of letting you know." I was like, "Tell you what about all the other bad stuff we saw? Do you worry about that?" I was like, "What if your ductwork doesn't match, man?" And I could see from your attic into your house. I mean, your house is really leaky. Well, how much is that going to cost, John? Well, how much you think it's worth it? I'm gonna be there 2-3 hours to do all these tests. What do you think? And he goes, "Oh, $100." I was like, "Well, $100 is our service call. We come out there for 30 minutes. How did that treat you every time we went over there and fixed something real quick?" Because what got me through, I was like, "Would you put that time on actually redesigning your house on a very expensive expense?" And then we started going, and then finally he was like, "That's too much money, John. 500 is not worth it." Okay, we can always do the 30-minute thing.
Free quote would help you with these people, I think, Johnny. And I think we got it to the point where if you learned it and leaned in, you'd probably be like, "Oh, I see." I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted.
It was funny. It was funny because then he's like, "I just need these heat strips now." And I was like, "Well, they charge emergency service calls to come out right now on demand heating. You're probably going to spend $200-$300 plus those heat strips that are like $1,500. Is $200 or $300 worth of them to come out right now?" He's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, why don't we just wait? You tell me what's important." He ended up going with the console, but yes,
Okay.
I felt it should have went with the A. I worked way too hard to get the console of explaining. I think it was a 22-minute call.
Our comfort console, when you do the free quote, you still offer the static pressure.
Yes, I do.
And how much do you charge for static pressure?
We're charging $125. So
And
for the quote to come out, it'll be
if you're okay, so you're charging $125 for free quotes.
Yep, and now come with the static.
And that comes with static.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I'm pretty much when I'm there, if they don't want to pay the 125, they're not paying the statics. So when I get there, normally I just said, "Hey, we have a static pressure test. It's like $10. Is this something you want to do?" And a lot of it, let me back it up. We have a test that tests the ductwork and lets us know if it's compatible with the new system. Is this something you want us to do? It's like $1. And to me, it's not really the charge. To me, I'm getting permission to drill into their system and to tell them if something's wrong. If they don't want to do it for $10 or something like that, something's wrong, and I needed to back up.
Well, no, so God, I haven't coached you in years, it feels like.
No.
I'm switching over into my coaching mode. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I love it.
So responsibly avoiding responsibility. If you offer to someone to check static and they decline, on the free quote process, there's a signature box. They sign that they declined. You have evidence of offer decline. You're off. That's it.
Yep.
So my inclination is to charge $100 during the busy season as a trip charge for the free quote. And then, by the way, I can pull out my equipment for $25 and do a static pressure test if you want. And if you followed the process of showing them the 60-second video, they know that static pressure is going to be a problem for equipment, very likely to be a problem for any equipment after 2019.
Yes.
Because Nate tells them very clearly. And so, and if they haven't watched that video by the time you get there, because you sent it on the what to expect, you can lead a horse to water, but it's not your fault if they die because they, you know.
Not far if they don't really give a shit.
And it's each of these things is a test to see what's important to those people. And to some extent, really leaning into Sandler means being the guide, not the hero. And that means allowing people to make decisions that appear to you to be bad decisions. They're an adult, you're an adult. You, as the guide, have done everything in your power to help them make a good decision, but ultimately the decision is theirs. And so you got to let it go. And that's part of the process.
Yep.
No static pressure test. I'm out here doing, so it's a mismatch. We're going to have to replace your ductwork. Why didn't you tell me that before? Well, so do you remember this visit? Remember we talked about this, and this, and looked at this video, and I offered to do the static pressure so that we could have an understanding of whether we would want to lean really small. Because if we had put smaller equipment in, we might not have had the static pressure test problem. But remember, you decided on the equipment size also, and we talked about that. And, so it's basically we've put all of these agreements in compartments and locked them tight. And Free Quote, I think, does it so beautifully that you don't have to feel all this pressure to get a blower door test anymore. That's what the feedback has been from Reedy. Once it clicked for him, he's like, oh, I don't feel any pressure to convince people to do comfort consults anymore. Because the pressure is gone. Because this allows me to responsibly have the same level of responsibly avoiding responsibility that the comfort consult gave me. That was so important to me about having people do the comfort consult, was that responsibly avoiding responsibility piece. And I get it from Free Quote now. So really the only people that I think, are best served by a comfort consult are people that have really high pain scores. Like, it's not an 18 anymore. It's probably a 28.
Yeah, I get you now. And that's out of the 4 questions you're saying.
So that's out of the 4 questions, but in the comfort consult, in the Free Quote process, it starts with the 1 question, which is, did you want your new equipment to do something your old equipment didn't do? And if they say yes, they're not like for like, right? Well, that's not going to be like for like equipment, because like for like is probably going to give you the same experience or possibly worse with these new blower motors. So they say yes to that, then you do the 4 questions quiz on everybody, because you want them to be offered the comfort consult. And in the offering, you also say, you don't need to do that comfort consult now. We can do that later. It just helps us narrow in on your load calc. But what we do as part of the Free Quote process is we give you your likely load range, which is kind of a load calc. It just, instead of a load calc for your specific house, it's telling you what 90% of homes, the size of your home, what that load is. And we've even broken it down further, because once we get the load range, we tell you 30% of that load range is the leaky bad homes. The middle 40% are the mediocre average homes. And then the other 30% are the tight good homes. And one of the things that we would encourage people to do if they have comfort issues is particularly, is lean towards sizing their equipment to the green. Because what we've found is usually equipment can solve most comfort problems, but if it doesn't solve a comfort problem with your house, it's very likely the house's fault. So if we've done a good job with the equipment and the equipment doesn't solve the problem, well, you got to fix the house. Were you going to fix the house anyway? Or were you going to live with the problem? You know, get the good equipment so you've got that piece out of the way. And then we can move the whole diagnostic step beyond the equipment. And 95% of the HVAC industry doesn't want to do load calcs, and they don't want to do blower door. And so with this tool, they're able to actually help homeowners understand the benefit of sizing to the tight side of their likely load range and get really great equipment. Because that's what the guys have ended up doing anyway, is if you look at likely load range, they're all sizing towards the tight side. Most of the homeowners aren't doing any enclosure work. And if they still have problems after the equipment's in, you know, maybe they redefine their attic or they redefine their basement, and then house is better.
Yep.
You know, you might be able to move Comfort Consult past the obvious enclosure repairs as well. You know, don't spend money on diagnostics until you need to spend money on diagnostics. And if there's a process that can move the diagnostics further back in the chain, it's great, right? And so homeowners are now using the smiley faces and the 6 functions of HVAC, matching them up to the smiley faces. And they're able to say, well, I don't want single stage equipment. And in fact, I don't want this crappy multi-stage equipment that doesn't dehumidify well. I want that really nice modulating equipment that has reheat dehumidification, so that, because I know dehumidification is a problem for indoor air quality and durability and comfort, and things are getting worse, not better. So I'm going to get that equipment so that I don't have these dehumidification problems. And then if they make a decision on the 2-stage stuff, what have you done with the smiley faces? More responsibly avoiding responsibility.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we're also coming to the conclusion of is there needs to be not only the what to expect in advance, which gives them the opportunity to do the comfort quiz before you get there and look at the 6-7 minutes worth of videos. But after the visit, there needs to be a thank you email with the free quote report. And the thank you email should recap your understanding of what was discussed and what was agreed upon, and give them the opportunity to say, that wasn't my understanding, so that you can negotiate and make sure that you've memorialized what was talked about and what was agreed to. Because again, time goes by and people's memories, you don't want to rely on memories when it comes to, you know, somebody saying it's your fault their house is uncomfortable.
True. I like it, man. That was a good coaching experience right there.
It reminds you of 2019, does it?
Yeah.
When did you start? And we spent all the time together?
Probably around 2019. Yeah, about 5 years ago, 2020, something like that. Right for COVID.
You are one of my early guys.
Early birds.
We go back a long way, don't we, Johnny?
Yep, we sure do, man.
I love you, brother. You're awesome. You were the bull in the china shop. Man, we learned so much from you. You would go out there like you were not afraid to experiment on anything. You want me to do this? Okay, I'll go do that.
Yeah, it's just, that's the way it is, man. You got to learn, like Nate told me, science is about breaking stuff and finding solutions for it and making stuff better, you know? And the only way we could do it is we got to try.
Got to try it.
That's like my whole thing with these dehumidifiers, man. That's woo, it's a whole other thing, whole other topic.
All right. Thank you for doing this. I think it's going
All
to
right.
be fun to have these in the can and to look back on 5 years from now.
Yes.
2029, you and I will come back and we'll be like, oh, remember that? I
Yeah.
don't remember any of that. I won't, without this, I wouldn't remember any of it.
Yep.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
See you.